So hello everyone. I'm Samar Al-Shorafa, co-founder of She is Arab, the first dedicated speakers platform for Arab women, working to address women's underrepresentation at speaking events and in business leadership. I'll be your host for today, but with me here is also my business partner, co-founder of She is Arab, Noha Hifni. We would both like to welcome you all, old and new members. And we hope you and your loved ones are well during this stay-at-home period of COVID-19. We're very pleased with the turnout today. This is our second webinar this month. We started our series on April 1st, and we aim to, create engagement with you as our members, and also introduce you to the list of speakers that we have. So should you be interested to contribute, please do let us know. Perhaps you could join us on one of the webinars. Quick overview of some housekeeping rules. There's a Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen, so please do not hesitate to send through any questions. We've received a couple a few days ago, so we'll be addressing those today. If you would like to speak, there's also the possibility of doing that. So just please send me a nudge on the chat screen. And finally, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speaker for today, Hicham El Amrani. Hicham is the managing director of his own company, ACG DWC. He brings 17 years of professional experience to his role, having worked across sectors such as public affairs, government, finance, and others, as well as training in multiple markets, but mainly in the US, the UK, the UAE, and Canada. Hicham has worked on a number of prestigious and complex projects in the UAE and elsewhere across the region. He helped VIPs and senior executives improve their public speaking performances, their media appearances, and presentation skills. He's also helped a number of public and private sector leaders in their positioning and reputation management. Hicham is a registered professional trainer at the Institute of Professional Management, an accredited trainer from the Canadian Association of Professional Trainers. He's also an EQ certified coach, a member of the American Society for Training and Development, and a member of the International Coach Federation. We also have a giveaway at the end of the session, so hang in there, stay with us till the end. Trust me, it is worth the wait. So without further ado, I'll pass on the floor to Hicham to take over from here.
Great, thank you, Samar. Thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you, Noha, for inviting me, and welcome everyone. I hope you are doing well, everyone, your loved ones, your families, here in the UAE, or you have families and outside. Can you hear me? The screen froze.
Yes, I believe, yes.
Yeah, great. So, thank you for She's Arab, actually, for inviting me. And I'm a great believer and a supporter for the mission of She's Arab. I believe it's really about time to give a platform for Arab talent, Arab women talent, a place and a platform to express their talent, to share their experiences. And I really think She is Arab is on to something really big in the region and really timely at this moment. So I do work with Samar and Noha, and if any one of you is interested to join and to be trained so that she can share her story, share her experiences with a larger audience, we'll be more than happy to speak about that. So, public speaking, this is one of my favorite training sessions, actually. I love it. I enjoy it so much because public speaking has transformed my life as a person, as a professional, but also I've seen it transforming the lives of a lot of people I worked with, and a lot of people who have taken the steps to actually do public speaking training. It is an honor to have all of you here today. We have about 45 to 50 minutes, so we will not be able to cover everything related to public speaking, but we will go through what you see now on your screen through 3 things, and I'm gonna try to be as short as possible because I want to leave about 20 minutes for you to ask questions, to interact, to engage, and tell us your stories. And if there's anything I can help you actually with to get your public speaking to the next level, I'll be more than happy. So without further ado, we'll start with our first thing. But before we show that slide, Samar, I just want to ask you, I'm sure so many of you have been into a public speaking event, whether it's a conference, whether it's a presentation, whether it's a meeting. And I want you please to, by a show of hand, a virtual hand, to tell me who has been in a situation like this. Summer, can you show that slide? There you go. Who has been into a public speaking situation like this? By a show of hand, just raise your virtual hand and tell us. And who has been on a public speaking situation, conference, meeting, presentation, small or big, like the other picture, like the other situation coming up?
There are a few hands here.
Yeah, but I'm unable to see your slides, Summer, so this is why I'm unable to follow. But look, the other picture is about a public situation. Yes, exactly, a public situation, serious engagement. There is a lot of energy. Can you, in one word, please type in the Q&A, what is the difference between the first situation and the second situation? Just one word. Passion, engagement, energy, engaging, speaker. I'm reading your words. Absolutely. Clear, beautiful. I mean, that's actually exactly what it is. There's an engagement there. There is an energy, there is a passion, which is very important, and we're going to come back to that. So this was just for me to warm you up a little bit into what public speaking is all about. And I want to start, before we go into the three subjects I want to talk with you about today, I want to start about one question that I always receive whenever I do a public speaking training, virtual or offline. And that question is public speaking a natural talent, or it is something that you can acquire? It is an acquired talent. Show of hand who actually has thought about this question before. We have quite a number, which is terrific. Absolutely, it is. This is the reason. I mean, everybody thinks there is a good amount of people who think that public speaking is a natural talent. So you either have it or you don't. And the reality is, it is true that talent will help you. Talent is important. It actually gives you a headway. But as we say, talent will only take you so far. But repetition and consistent practice will take you anywhere. And that's really good news for anybody who does not think that they can be a good public speaking according to what they dream of or what they imagine a good public speaker to be is. It is an acquired taste. It's an acquired skill and an acquired taste as well. There are certain techniques, there are certain rules. We will see some of them today, but with consistent practice, good practice, actually everybody can acquire the skill. And this is one of the most important skills ever, I have to say. I train on a different number of subjects, but this is one of those skills that when people actually acquire it, they do move up in their professional life and even in their personal life. It does help them because they are able to express themselves in a very fluent and coherent and consistent manner. So it is a very important skill. So we'll go to the most important part of public speaking also, which is fear. A lot of people have a lot of fear of public speaking, right? There's this mysticism about it, mysterious actually. Why are some people so good at it and some people are not good at it? But the fact of the matter is there is a neuroscience and there is a brain science behind why people do get nervous before or after or during actually public speaking engagement. And the reason is we all have three parts in our brain. One is the conscious and one is the subconscious mind, as you know, and one is the primitive mind. And the primitive mind is basically, this is the brain that we are born with. This is the brain the moment we come out of our mother's womb, it is there. And it has a very important spot, which actually stays with us for the rest of our life, which is the fight or flight reaction. You are probably, some of you already know about it. And that part is important because its main job is to make us stay alive, protect us from danger and from risk. And Samar, if you can scroll to the first slide, please, that would be great. So it is important to remember this part. Next time you are about to give a presentation, or you're thinking that you need to have to give a presentation at work, or you are invited to a conference, and then you will feel that nervousness, and in Arabic, tawattur, and you feel nervousness and fear, I want you to remember this part. You are not alone. Everyone actually feels that nervousness with a varying degrees. Everybody feels that. Now, the difference between somebody who feels that and they do great in public speaking, and somebody who feels that nervousness and that fear and they don't do good in public speaking, or they don't actually do it at all, is that the first batch, the first group, actually, they do understand the science behind it. And the sign that I was saying is that you have the part in your brain that says you need to protect yourself from risk. And this is why people, they actually, when they walk around the streets, they're always watching behind their bags. They want to make sure that they're not hit by a car. But that same mechanism, our subconscious mind, does not make a difference between what is reality and what is imaginary. For the subconscious mind, it's the signals that we send to it. And this is based on that, they actually react. So if I tell them that I am afraid of flying, if I send a signal to my subconscious mind, I'm afraid of flying, then the moment I know that I have to travel, it's going to be a long week before I go into that plane. And when I go on the plane, it's going to be a very, very hard trip for me. And maybe next to me will be sitting somebody who is totally enjoying their trip, and they're having fun, and they eat and they sleep and they watch their movie, and they speak with their friends around them if they have, and as if we are in a completely different world. Two different peoples, same situation, two different signals. It's the signal that I send to my subconscious mind. So when I say to my subconscious mind, oh my God, people are going to judge me. Oh my God, I don't know how to speak in public. Oh my God, I've heard in this movie that people actually are scared from public speaking and then scared from death. Can you imagine? So imagine if you believe that death is okay and then comes public speaking. That's a very powerful belief that will drive the way you feel, that will drive your emotions. And obviously it will stand between you and jumping into a the full person that you need to be on stage or on camera like now, or when you are presenting to your colleagues at work. So I want you please to take a moment now, or you can write it down, this question, reflect on it after this session, or maybe during the Q&A, and ask yourself, what kind of signals I send to myself the moment I know that I have a public speaking engagement? So I'm sitting now, I'm receiving an email, a message, a call from my boss, an invitation letter from a conference that says, dear so-and-so, we cordially invite you to this conference on April, not this April, obviously, next April, hopefully, and you are cordially invited. Please tell us, send us your approval. What kind of feeling do you have? What kind of emotions and what kind of thoughts actually go between your brain and yourself at that point? The quality of those thoughts, they are going to determine the quality of your public speaking. If they are negative, then please raise your hand or send us a question, and I'll tell you exactly what we can do about that. However, for the general knowledge, there are certain 3 tips I'm going to share with you today, which will actually help you to manage that nervousness. And mind you guys, by the way, we're just scratching the surface of this. So there is a deeper science behind that, but I just wanted to give you this, and I'm happy to answer any questions at the end. So the most important part, and I'm sure you've heard this before, but it probably did not click or did not register in your brain because you did not understand the science behind it. So I'm going to take a step back. When you are nervous, you're not breathing properly. When you're not breathing properly, you're not giving enough oxygen to your brain. And as we know, the brain lives and breathes on oxygen. Without oxygen, people on their brain people actually die. This is a scientific fact. So when there is enough brain in our brain is in a relaxed state. Okay, it's in a relaxed state. This is the time when you are calm. This is the time when you're taking a stroll in the park. This is the time when you're watching a nice movie. When you're just calm, basically, where you're not feeling nervous or stressed. So when you think that you are nervous, or before you, just 5 or 10 minutes before going on stage, and you are not breathing enough, your brain is going into a crazy mode, and there is a light bulb that goes like this saying there is not enough oxygen. Oh my God, we're dying. This is what your brain thinks. They don't know that you are in a safe place with human beings. You're not about to be hit by a car. No oxygen, we are in danger. And remember what I said in the beginning, our brain's primary function is to protect us from danger. So breathing before, not just the moment, breathing before is actually a very important step to feed yourself, to see your cells and to feed your brain with enough oxygen. Right before the speech, you take your time, 5 minutes, 3 minutes before you go on stage, and you just take really deep breath as much as possible. You will still feel nervous, just ignore those signals because it's very important, but your brain has already been fed with oxygen. This is like being dehydrated. When you drink water, you feel okay. If you don't drink water, you start not feeling okay. So breathing is important. There are a lot of exercises on YouTube on pranic breathing, which is the breathing from your stomach. And that's very important one to do to give enough power to your brain. The second tip I'm going to give you to calm or to manage your nervousness is to visualize. What do I mean by that? So I'll tell you what I do personally, what I do with my clients. So I have a public speaking engagement. I would take 15 minutes. Before I became more comfortable with public speaking, I would do it every day before the engagement. But now I will probably do it like twice. And I take 15 minutes. I'm in a relaxed place in my office or my room. And I just close my eyes and I just take a deep breath and I visualize the entire process from the moment I arrive to the venue, from the moment I shake the first hand, from the moment I hear my name being called on stage until I deliver the stage, I deliver the speech, and then I engage with the audience. So basically, it's like I'm directing a movie and I'm the director, but also I am the actor. So you direct the movie and you see it, and you tweak and you correct if you see something wrong. This is very important. I'll tell you why, what does visualization do when I tell you the third tip. The third tip is basically correct, and we can go please to the next slide, the correct preparation. Notice, guys, I put correct preparation, not just rehearsal. The reason is there are a lot of people who do rehearsal. So if I am a soccer player and I need to, if I need to train myself, rehearse on how to score on a penalty, if you've seen that before, but I'm learning and I'm not getting it right. So I do 1,000 times a day, but I did not get it right. I did the rehearsal, which is great, but it was the wrong techniques. I did not get it right. So my brain did not get it right. The correct preparation is you don't do it 15 minutes before while you're driving in the car and you try to rehearse a speech. You do it at least a week before or 3 or 4 days before. You read the speech out loud, you listen to your voice, you correct the tone and the tonality of some words, you learn how to pause, you do it in front of the mirror, you do it in front of a group of people who will give you honest feedback, or you hire a trainer or a coach for that will give you that feedback. That is very important. Correct, they say practice makes perfect. I added something a little bit before it. I call perfect practice makes perfect, not just practice. So why is visualization and correct preparation important? So one of the reasons our brain gets nervous is because when we are in unfamiliar territory, unfamiliar situation, our brain gets a little bit nervous. We're not breathing enough. There's not enough oxygen. We go into danger mode. So when you visualize actually yourself speaking, you visualize yourself giving that presentation and you see yourself engaged and you feel it and you hear it and you see the colors and you hear the sounds and you do that and you add on that a good amount of time of preparation, your brain starts to get familiar with the situation. It gets familiar with the situation. So when you are actually on that situation, this is science, by the way, tested. When you are actually in this situation, your brain does not feel that you are in an unfamiliar situation. And therefore, the brain does not get engaged into what's going on, why am I nervous, why am I sweating, why is my heart going pumping like crazy. So the more you do it, the more you actually give your brain a rehearsal of what's going to happen. So when you are there, it does not feel that strange. And again, this is just a very high level number of tips we're talking about in terms to manage your nervousness. There are more to do. Hopefully we can cover them on a second webinar. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to type them up in the Q&A, or I'm happy to take them now, or maybe we can leave them later. How are we doing with time, Samar?
I think we're doing very well with time. We have the 20 minutes remaining for questions, as you had suggested. And I would like to invite all the attendees, if they can, if they actually raise their hand, I can even give them the chance to talk, to use their microphones. And yeah, we have a question already. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Hi, hello, Shaima.
Hi, Hicham. Thank you very much for such a very interesting presentation and approach. I think it's very useful.
My pleasure.
Actually, one of your slides was about how to keep the audience like energetic and enthusiastic about what you're saying, which I believe it has a very big part concerning the charisma. I do believe to prepare yourself well for your speech is very important. And one of the very important elements to prepare yourself is to know your target audience, to be able to know how you will approach them. Because it's very different when you are targeting, or your target audience is youth or old people or like senior management and so on. How do you prepare yourself if you know that your audience is a variety of people, including young people, old people, and so on? How to keep them interested in what you're saying, how to keep them like keeping the momentum of the speech. Thank you.
Right, thank you. You actually one step ahead of me, Shaima. So that was going to be my next point, which is, as you saw in the first slide, and I'm going to come back to your question, Shaima, after my first point now, is how to connect with the audience. And this is very, very important, guys, because the importance of connection is gold. Without connection, you don't have impact. And I'm sure so many of you have been to so many speeches. If I give you 5 seconds or even 5 minutes to remember some of those, it won't going to happen. Correct? I'm sure that's the answer is yes, because the speaker came, they read from a piece of paper, or they were not engaged, they did not connect with you at an emotional or even at an intellectual level, and you did not feel that they want to be there at the first place. Something was wrong. I'm not saying that it's only reading is not the right thing. I'm just saying something was wrong. So you're there, you're watching them, and you're thinking about lunch. And I'm sure we've all been in that situation where we did not connect with the speaker, and therefore it was almost like background noise. So it is very important to connect with the audience. And one of the steps, I'm gonna share with you 5 tips. There are a lot more, but because again of time, the most important thing, you need to know your audience. You need to understand them. So if I'm going to do a speech or a training about self-confidence, and I'm going to do it, I'm going to present to a bunch of engineers, mainly men, it will be completely different if I'm going to do self-confidence to high school girls only, for example. It's totally different audience, it's the same subject, but the kind of engagement, the kind of examples and stories I'm going to bring are very important. Doing that step is the most important success factor for any speech, to understand the audience. Because whether we like it or not, as audience, we're a little bit selfish, right? We only listen to what interests us. If I have pain or passion about something, I'm going to be all ears. If you're speaking about something that I'm not interested in, probably chances I'm not going to connect with you unless you are a very, very, very good speaker and you have some interesting stories. So important to understand your audience, and I call it empathy for the audience, because that audience came, whether they pay you or they came as a conference, they came to listen to you. So being empathetic to them, one of them is to actually study about them, know their interest, know probably what their pain point or what they are passionate about, and speak to that. Now, to go back to Shaima's question, and before I go to my next point, how do you do when you have a variety of, in my experience, what I do personally when I am in an offline or even online, I would ask. So if I have a room full of people who are different age, different gender, different interests, I would ask, why did you come here today? What is, if for when I'm doing public speaking training, I'm doing leadership, I will ask the same thing about leadership. If I'm doing emotional intelligence, I will ask them, so what did you come? And then it's like data. I'm storing data in my head. I understand who is coming for what, and then I try to address that one way or the other. If you have 50 different people, then you won't be able to cover that, obviously, but you'll try to cover as much as possible. I hope I answered your question, Shaima. If I didn't, please let us know at the end of the webinar. So the second tip to keep your audience connected is stories. And I'm sure you already probably heard this as well, but this is a reason, there is a reason behind it. There is a science behind the stories. We all love stories. The moment we hear Kanye Makan or Once Upon a Time, we all want to hear. Whether you're 60 years old, whether you're 5 years old, whether you're 10 years old, everybody loves stories. We are wired to hear stories. And the moment you say stories, what happens to my brain as an audience? I am not judging or filtering what you say by my conscious brain, and I'm just relaxed. It's just a story, right? And that's a good moment for you to actually share your messages, especially if you want to have an emotional hook into your message, because I'm just listening. If I am listening, if I'm listening to fact, I am using my conscious mind, and the conscious mind is the logical mind. So I want to say whether you're right, whether you're wrong, and I am actually filtering as you're speaking. There's a chance to not to actually get me hooked. The moment you say story, I relax. You are basically overriding that important filter. Plus, a story, it allows you to share a piece of your person, of who you are. And it's very important to let your personality come through. Not a lot, but a little bit of it. It's very important, because this is how you connect. People connect with other people. We are all made of energy, and energy is contagious. So sharing a story, whether it's a vulnerability story, whether it's a great story, whether it's a fun story, as long as you have an ability to connect it right away to what you're saying in your speech, it is very important, and one of the most important tools to create impact and connection in public speaking. I usually say to my clients, use stories about your family. Don't overdo it unless there is a reason behind it. It is very important that it has to be a reason. I'm sure now with the COVID-19, everybody has a lot of stories about baking cakes and steaks and I know you can see that already, so I look forward.
Guilty as charged.
Everybody in Canada is actually hiding a lot of things.
Actually, Hicham, we did have another hand risen, but then yes, it's there again. So I'll give the floor to Dana. She has a question.
Okay, hello, Dana.
Go ahead, Dana.
Hi, Hicham. Hi, Samar. Thank you very much for this interesting seminar or webinar. Appreciate it, Hicham. Very nice to meet you. Interesting. I mean, all the tips are pretty much relevant and highly appreciated. Now, there's one comment I wanted to add to the audience and understanding the audience and connecting to them. When faced with these, what about just choosing simplicity? I mean, I know how difficult it is to address highly intelligent people in the room, or engineers, or women versus men, etc. Many times we get the feedback that simplicity is the key, you know, for being credible and also using conviction. And the other question I wanted to ask you, not the comment, the question is, what do we do? I don't know, maybe if I missed it, I had technical problem at the beginning. What do we do when we ask to speak publicly without the chance of being prepared or getting a chance to breathe and get the oxygen to the brain, etc., etc. Many times as a public speaker, we're put on the spot right away. So if you can just please highlight a few tips or techniques that we can use right on the spot when we are asked to speak publicly without any previous notice. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. That's a very good. Mark Twain said, "It takes 1 week to prepare for an impromptu speech." It is. There is no such thing as impromptu speech, but I understand. I'm going to come to your question, Dana, but I don't know what's happening somewhere, but I think somebody has a camera on my office now, because that was simplicity is my next point in connecting with the audience.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
So
it is such an important topic, actually.
I don't know what's going on in here. But look, I think simplicity is one of the most important thing. And I have an example which might be a little bit controversial, but there was actually a study about Donald Trump. Yeah, I know what you're thinking about.
Are we getting in trouble here?
I know what you're thinking about, but I'll tell you something. There's a study that's done about him. One of the reasons actually he connects with his audience is because he speaks about grade 6 or 7 level. That's the kind of language. So the audience does not spend a lot of time trying to process what they say. Well, trying to say it, process what he says. He speaks to the language, and he speaks to a very simple language. I'm not saying that we should speak like Trump or like we used to do Trump, but I think what the study was about simplicity is very important. Unless you are going to teach a philosophy class in university, simple language is important. Why? There is a science behind this as well. As an audience, I need to do 4 or 5 brain processes simultaneously. So I need to listen to you and focus. I need to focus with my surroundings because I have to. This is just being part of humans. I need to watch you and watch all what you're doing. And my brain is actually interpreting. Now your brain is interpreting my hand movement. And I need to understand what you're saying. But at the same time, I'm doing everything at the same time. You know, so if I speak with very fast, or as a speaker, or if you speak very fast, you speak very complicated language, or if you don't pause, if you don't stop a little bit, then I am unable to follow what you're saying, and I'm not going to enjoy it. So and the impact will be very little. To go back to what Dana's question, what we do, I have 2 or 3 tricks that I have used, and they worked really, really well, very well. So if you are in a setting where you are asked to give a public speech or to give a comment and not prepared, 2 or 3 things you can do. The first one is you repeat the question if you are asked a question. The second one, you actually call for a survey. Who in here thinks this or that? You know, so those 3 or 5 seconds is going to give your brain the time to absorb the shock of being asked. And then basically respond to the question. The first one is very important. So someone would ask me, Dana, would ask me, what do you do to give when you're asked? So I'll repeat the same question. So did I understand you correctly? You want me to tell you what do I do when I am given that? So I repeat that question as I'm repeating, and my brain is going into all the background, all the data that I have stored in my head, trying to find the answer.
That is such a great tip, actually, because I think it really gives you a chance to reflect, to think, to come up with ideas, and to actually breathe, as Dana rightly asked about breathing.
And the third that I found actually very, 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 very powerful technique, Dana and everyone, is to reframe the question. Reframe it. So you asked me about what do I do when I'm asked to give a speech on the spot, I'm not prepared. So I start reframing it. Did you mean this or did you mean that? And as I am asking you, and I will just reframe it. So, you know, a lot of people sometimes are put on the spot, etc., and my brain is basically just getting ready for to answer that question, right? So again, we're scratching the surface. I mean, that's impromptu speeches. There's a whole training on it itself. The fourth, the point about connecting with the audience is don't read a whole speech. And guys, please, Hashani, don't memorize your speeches. Never, ever, if anybody comes to tell you to memorize a speech, please give them my number and let me talk to them. It is the worst thing you can do to yourself. I'll tell you why. Because I've seen it too many times to count people they have what we call in the public speaking world a blank. A blank is when you memorize the entire speech and then you forget one word, and then the entire house crumbles on your head. Never memorize a speech. If you want, you can practice messages, key messages, right? Practice them, say them enough time until they become like your name. You know who's your name, what it is, you know where you live, you know the address, you know which city. You can speak about yourself for 5, 6 lines without having to look at the paper. Those messages need to become like that. And this way you add the energy to them. And sometimes the energy of the room makes you add more things to those and they really become engaging. Don't memorize a speech and do not read from a paper as much as possible. If you go in a presentations, don't read from the slides. You're doing 2 errors. First of all, you're reading. Second, you're giving, most of the people, they would give their back to the audience, which is a big no when you're presenting. Last tip about how to connect with the audiences is body language. Your voice, intonation of the voice. If you speak like this for 5 minutes, you know what's going to happen. Right? Remember the first picture, guys? Most people will sleep from the inside, and some people, they will start yawning like this, and it was just basically not a good thing for everyone. I'm sure you all remember that professor in university who you dreaded to go to there because they make you sleep. You know what? Most of them, by the way, they come right after lunch. I don't know. I think the universe conspired against that at that point. But also, I'm sure you remember a professor, a teacher who energized the room. And if you try to go back with your memory, there's apply the same tips and strategies we're mentioning now. The voice intonation has to actually to be there so that you connect with me. Your brain is going to listen when there is a variety of intonation. When there is not a lot of variety, your brains go into the alpha wave, which is when you are sleeping, basically. Your body has to speak. You know that your body language is 58% worth of your communication message power. A lot of people actually, they spend most of the time working on the verbal, the words actually, and they forget to work on the body and the voice and other things other things in the body language. Eye contact is very important. Looking at your phone, looking at the floor, looking somewhere when you're speaking, it just detach you basically from the speaker. We are made for contact as human beings, and that energy comes through the eyes. If you're in a large room, you can't make eye contact with everybody, and you must not, because you're actually going to go dizzy. What you do is you pick one person in A and one person in B and one person in C, and you make eye contact. Preferably, you see a face that reflects energy to you, and that person will be your go-to whenever you turn your face to that place, and they actually will reflect the energy, energizes you more. So we covered 5 tips, very fast. I know I'm speaking, but I'm trying to give you as much value as possible. The last one is the virtual public speaking. And
I was just going to ask you about that actually, because we did have a question come in privately about virtual engagement, and it was actually also from somebody who delivers coaching sessions. So they were wondering, how can you keep the audience engaged when you can't see the people you're talking to? So you can't establish eye contact, you can't do anything. And we do have a question following that, so I leave the floor to you to answer this one.
Sure. We'll come to Haifa in a second. I think she raised her hand with a question. So basically, the human communication is 3 elements in general. So it's the words, what we say, what I'm saying now, is my body language, my facial expression, my eye contact, my hand and movement, and my body movement whenever I'm speaking. Plus is my voice. So in a virtual reality, in a virtual setting, you are actually you're not denied the power of your body language as much as I'm trying now by denying. I prefer, by the way, if you're doing it virtually and you're doing it a lot, to get a stand-up desk. I'm getting one. We're just waiting for everything to open because I'm doing more of it now because of the COVID-19. And I find sitting on the chair and doing this is really does not help me to release my energy. When we stand, our energy is free and it does help. So The most important thing to keep your audience engaged is your voice. Work on your voice. Make sure that your voice has enough passion, has enough energy, and has enough variety. It does go up, it does go down. You pause, you stress the right word to make the brain actually engage. The other important tip, which I've actually applied, and it's very important, I see it has great results. Keep your audience engaged. Ask questions. Ask the questions in the middle, type a question in the chat, ask a question like this, ask them a question before, tell them to reflect on something and talk to each other, tell them to talk to each other as if you are an offline setting, and just basically let them to be part of that training. Nobody wants to listen to somebody who's speaking for 3 hours. It just does not, we're not built for that. No matter how great that public speaker, we're just not built for that. So take a break. If you are doing more than 1 hour, take a break. If within the hour, ask your audience, let them speak, let them engage with you is very important. The voice as well is important.
So using the virtual tools are very important, like raising hands, chat windows. So really maximizing your use of whatever tools are available to you when you present.
Absolutely. So the last tip I told you is to stand up, but the back, eliminate any and every distraction. So any kids, put them in the cupboard. Your husband, put them in the garage. Your little brother, put him in the fridge. So there's no, shouldn't be background noise, because
please don't quote Hicham on this and on Twitter tomorrow, right?
Dressing to the part is very important. It actually makes you feel, it's like you're going to work, you dress for the part. The way you dress, it actually gives your brain a signal that you are in a professional setting. So the way you speak, what you say, what you don't say, way you behave also helps. And people actually, now actually I just played with the Zoom a little bit, and now there are virtual backgrounds. So if you don't have enough space, or you don't have a background that will actually help people focus, you can use one of those virtual backgrounds. There are tons of them now, and they actually help your audience to focus with you, as opposed of something happening there or something not right. And that's about it, actually.
Shall we go to Haifa's question now?
Yes.
Haifa, would you like to share with us your question? Haifa?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
hey, please go ahead.
I wrote it down. Sorry, it's the first time I'm on this Zoom communicating. It was about the virtual tips. Like, I doubled this question on how to. I have a problem with my voice. Every time I have something important, I lose my voice.
Yeah. Do you know why, Haifa?
Why?
Can you take a wild guess?
Stress? Dryness?
Yeah, it's nervousness. Nervousness, because I remember what I said, when you are nervous about a public speaking setting like this, or in a big room, or a large 5,000 room, whatever you are not going to breathe enough, and your brain thinks you are in danger. So what does it do? When the brain feels in danger, it goes to your kidneys and it tells the kidneys, please release adrenaline. I'm sure you're all aware and know about adrenaline. Adrenaline goes to the heart and says, this person is in danger, they are dying. Pump a lot of blood. And that blood goes to two main places. It goes to your hands, because you're going to fight because there is risk, or it goes to your legs so that you can fly if there is risk. And what happens then, your entire body, except your hands and your legs, don't have enough blood circulation, including your throat and your voice. And that's why you are fighting danger, but also you're trying to calm and you're trying to sound professional, which is not going to work. So breathing is important, but for you, Haifa, I also have a couple more tips. I would always, before I go into a speaking engagement, I just did it today, I would gargle with warm water. It's very important. It just warms them up, basically. And this is what singers do. You know, that's number one. Number two, I would go with It's just basically you're just stretching your muscles, you know, your voice muscles, telling them that you are about to perform, and they would need to be there with you. And that tends to clear up the energy. But breathing is very important because your brain needs to know that you're okay. And when your brain needs to be okay, then your blood circulation is right, and then you can have enough energy for you to use your voice.
That's great, Hicham. And in the interest of time, I would like to move on just to the next question that came in through the Q&A window, if you don't mind, from Farah. She cannot use her microphone, but she would like to ask you, how do you deal with a skeptical or highly judgmental public? Sometimes those are actually peers at work. That's a very good question, I think.
Yeah, well, look, when we do the full day training, one part we go actually is how to deal with judgment, and that's a very interesting question, by the way. Who asked it? What's her name?
Farah. Farah.
Farah, that's a very good question, and it's one of the reasons people get nervous, by the way, because they are feared to be judged. So in general, a good public speaker is somebody who is comfortable with her or himself. They have a healthy amount of self-confidence and self-esteem. So that judgment basically does not land. That touches as a first rule. If you are scared of judgment, then what you need to work on is not your public speaking as a first step. You need to, obviously, but the first step needs to work is to understand, why am I afraid of judgment? Why does it hurt me? Why does it affect me? It's a very important emotional part, which is an important part of public speaking. Why is it hurting me? And I'm sure it is related one way or the other to a healthy self-confidence, self-esteem. Once that actually is brought to balance, then it helps. The second thing you can do, engage with your audience. I do engage when I've had actually one training. I think one of our attendants here today was Medin that training, Hiba. The one guy actually said, I'm asking them, so why are you here today? What do you expect to learn? How can I help you? And one guy just basically said, I really don't want to be here. I don't even know I'm here. They told me that I'm here. I don't want to be here. And so that was very nice and friendly of him. And so basically what I did is I engaged with him. Like, well, I want to understand about him more. I did not engage with him all the time because we did not want to use that negative energy, but just engage with him as opposed of closing the door and feeling. So engage with them, tell them if something is going wrong, what's going on. Is it my presentation? Is it my slides? Is it my information? Is it the wrong time of the day? A number of factors actually can contribute to that.
Fantastic. Thank you, Hicham, for addressing that. We have one more question from Maha, which I'd like to read out, which is, what is the ideal timing for a presentation or a speech? So I'm guessing choosing the timing.
Yes. I'll tell you which times are not good. Time after lunch is not a good one. Not for the speaker, not for the audience. Try to avoid those. And if you are invited to a conference and they tell you you are going to be at 1:30, people are going to come after a nice lunch. And you could try to imagine what's happening in their brain. All the blood circulation is happening in the digestive tract. Your body is trying to do its work to digest the food. So your brain is going like this. So that's not a good time. Very early in the morning, unless all the people there are morning people, and I'm not sure how would you know that. I usually try to go mid-morning to mid-afternoon, like not at the end of the afternoon. After a long day of conference, I'm not going to give a speech unless I know I have enough information, enough stories, enough numbers there to get the people really, really engaged. I've done this mistake before when I spoke after lunch. I learned the hard way. And it took me triple or 5 times the effort to keep that energy and to keep the audience engaged. So early in the mid-morning, ideally not the first day of the week. People are still in weekend mode. So in the UAE, probably I would say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are good. Not Thursday. People are thinking about weekend. Early morning, mid-afternoon and mid-morning are probably a good time.
That's wonderful, Hicham. Again, I know that you have an engagement shortly, so I won't take much longer. I know that we can go on for hours talking about this interesting topic. I think we've come to the end of the session, where we can ask that question, where they can where we can have that giveaway, which you have generously offered She is Arab's members. Hicham is offering a 1-hour personal training on public speaking. And trust me, guys, this is a very valuable gift. So I suggest you get your keyboards ready, and he's going to ask a question. And the first person who will answer this question will be the winner of this 1-hour training. So Hicham, over to you.
Great. So the question is, and the first person, as Samar mentioned, the first person who is going to answer correctly will be more than happy to work with a person for 1 hour privately, free coaching session, and we'll take it from there. So the question is, why do we get nervous, actually? I don't want just to say nervous because we're what scientific, the neuroscience fact behind it. Why does our brain get so nervous before a public speaking engagement?
Well, you can see the answers, right, Hicham?
I don't see them. I'm trying to, yeah.
Oh, okay. So we've got low oxygen levels in the brain.
We have Samar Suleiman already answered.
Huh?
Yeah, Samar Suleiman, fight or flight mode. Safa mentioned low oxygen, it's right, but low oxygen is actually a result of the fight and flight, and Sahar Palmer due to the reptilian brain preventing us. That is correct, absolutely, Sahar. And what do we have here? Hiba George's stress and missing of oxygen, absolutely. Fear, Maisa, fear is a result, Maisa, of when the fight or flight mode are in action, basically. So what's her name? Samar
Sulaiman. I think we have a winner here.
Congratulations, Samar. I look forward to working with you and achieving your goals in public speaking.
So actually, Samar is also based in the US, by the way. So that's going to be a virtual session. And that tells you a lot about also She's Arab's reach. We have Arab women from all over. Very exciting. And I think this was a very useful session. Thank you very much, Hicham, for your time and for these amazing tips. We'd really, really appreciate it. And thanks again for the giveaway. And congratulations, Samar. So by that, I think we have come to an end. Ladies, if you'd like to take your skills a nudge forward, please do get in touch with us. We'd be happy to help you schedule a training as relevant based on your needs. You can obviously contact us at info@sheisarab.com or call myself or Noha. So Noha and I would like to thank you all for being with us, and have a great day or night wherever you are.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Hicham. Thank you. All the best. Bye-bye.